Finally did it, guys. I watched the Gran Turismo movie. Now, I know I'm late in watching the movie, but I have a good excuse. I was a bit too lazy to watch this movie. But luckily, I had 2 hours free over the weekend, and I was able to finally watch the Gran Turismo movie. And I have to say, it wasn't that bad. So if you guys have not watched the Gran Turismo movie, which I'm pretty sure it's like 2 of you guys, I'm gonna give you guys the breakdown of the movie and kind of give you my review and my opinion of the Gran Turismo movie. Now, the Gran Turismo movie is about a sim racer named Jan Mardenborough, who joined the GT Academy back in 2011, where they were gonna transform a Gran Turismo player into a real-life racer. Now, this is a dramatic retelling, which is a little bit weird because this actual story takes place in 2011, but the movie takes place in the future, closer to our time. So they meshed the two together to do a different retelling of his story, but still keep majority of the main parts in the movie. So our protagonist, Jan, is an upcoming sim racer that doesn't know really what he's doing in his life, and his dad thinks he's an automatic loser, kind of like me. And his dad sees him playing sim racing basically every single day and doesn't think that he's gonna go anywhere with his life just because he always is stuck playing Gran Turismo. Now, although Jan is young, his brother is excelling in the football career that his dad wants Jan to start in. And because of this, it's kind of a little bit interesting in the beginning because it almost seems like his dad just absolutely hates Jan and just sees the younger brother as his absolute favorite. Now, the younger brother is only in the story for the beginning of the movie. He really doesn't start popping up after Jan starts joining the competition for the GT Academy. So it just seemed like a little small plot device for his brother to just be in the movie and just show that his dad is picking his brother over Jan. But after that, you just really don't see him. He just kind of phases out of the movie. So Jan spends hours and hours playing on his FANATEC sim rig. Now, the reason why I say FANATEC is because FANATEC is all over this movie. It literally has like its own little sponsorship in the beginning of the movie. But Jan has a little addiction with Gran Turismo, just like a lot of us. And he decides to go against his father's word as he tries convincing his dad that eventually is going to pay off. And so one day, Jan and his brother decide they want to go out, and unfortunately, they get caught by the police and his father for stealing the car, and his father has to teach him a lesson. Little does Jan know that he is actually entered to join in an academy after Danny Moore, played by Orlando Bloom, sets up this competition for the best Gran Turismo players in all of the world. So Jan joins this race and he gets probably one of the worst starts that he can ever get in a race, but somehow he's playing against opponents that literally are in like the rookie league because he just gets around these guys super easy and he's able to make his way to first and win the competition, thus getting him into the Nissan GT Academy. So once Jan wins this competition, he's able to get into the GT Academy, but it's not all roses once he gets into the GT Academy. There's still a lot of negative press around it, and there are still people that are against it, which is going to lead to our antagonist slash protagonist slash friend, Jack Salter, played by David Harbour. So Jack is a retired racer that doesn't think that this academy is going to work, and all these drivers are not going to be able to live up to the task of becoming an actual racer. Once the Nissan Academy start, they had 12 drivers that Jack was going to train to have a final showdown and select their best performing driver to be a actual racer. So all 12 drivers are going through the training, and Jack starts picking them out one by one, and eventually we're left with 6 drivers. Now, Jan almost gets kicked out due to a crash, but luckily he gets saved because the brakes on his car failed and nobody noticed it, and due to that he crashed into the barrier but was able to stay in the academy due to the mechanics finding this issue with the car. So 6 people get eliminated and they're down to the final 6 contestants of the GT Academy, and they do a final showdown race where Jan again starts off in the back and is able to make his way up into P2. Now, with 1 lap to go, he is chasing his rival Maddie, and they fight for first position all the way up until the line where it becomes a photo finish, but luckily Jan is able to win the race. Now, one thing I did want to touch upon is although Jan won the race, they actually did not want to put him through the GT Academy, even though he was the winner of the entire event, due to his lack of personality skills and marketing. They actually wanted to give it to Maddie, who finished in second, just because he had more charisma and was a lot better in front of the camera, which is actually something that I really liked that they had in the movie, because it actually just shows in racing sometimes it's not all down to skills. It can also be down to how much money you bring to the team, even though you're not the fastest in actuality. Just ask Lance Stroll. Watch out, watch out, watch out! So Jan finally gets through the GT Academy. He's going to become a race car driver. Now, before signing, he does a baller thing by sending out his crush that he had back in England all the way out to Tokyo, just so he can flex on her and just show her that, yeah, I'm a real big time here. I'm going to be signing some papers for Nissan, and I'm going to be an actual race car driver. Baller move by him because he flew her out to Tokyo to see this. And then they get a little bit of romantic stuff out in Tokyo. I mean, who wouldn't fall in love after getting served sushi by the creator of Gran Turismo? So they have a little bit of fun in Tokyo, and finally Yan gets to his first race. Now, this first race was at the Red Bull Ring. Now, in order for Yan to get his FIA license, he had to finish at least once 4th or better in the GT series. In the very first race we get introduced to his main rival, Nicholas Kappa. Now, this guy, Nicholas Kappa, I don't know how the heck he still has his racing license, because this guy drives dirty. This guy wrecks people and is very aggressive and just thinks about himself, which I honestly don't understand how the heck he still has a racing license or how he even finishes any race with such a hot head on him. So they go to the Red Bull Ring and Yan does his very first race, but the weird thing is that everybody on the team actually is doubting him, which is not something you want to do to a brand new driver, is mess around with them and have a lot of doubts in him. You want to be on the driver's side just so they can have a little bit of confidence going into the race. So Yan goes into the race at the Red Bull Ring and he makes his way up to 5th place, but of course ahead of him is Nicholas Kappa, who doesn't want Yan to get around him. So Yan eventually passes Kappa, but without Kappa wrecking him, and unfortunately due to that, Yan spins out. Yan finishes in the back in 27th position, so he doesn't get his FIA license. Now this continues on throughout the season, and Yan just keeps trying to get better, progressively trying to make his way through the GT series, but he still hasn't gotten that 4th place position quite yet. Now, the one thing I did want to talk about, as they make their way through the season, the crashes on this movie are just ridiculous. I swear, some of the crashes I saw on this just defy physics, but I get it. You need to make a movie entertaining for the audience, but some of the stuff that I saw, man, if I saw these types of crashes in every single race, there would be so many dead race car drivers. Now we progress through the season and we get to the Nürburgring. Now, if you guys don't know what the Nürburgring is the longest and most challenging racetrack in the world, and this was one of the races in the season. Now this part I didn't think they were going to actually show, but throughout the race Yan was doing pretty well, and unfortunately his Nissan GTR took off like an airplane, flipped in through the air, and crashed into some spectators, killing an actual spectator. Now, this part I didn't think they were gonna put into the movie because it's such a dark thing that happens in his life. They put it in here, and it almost forces Yan to just retire and quit right on the spot, just due to the fact that he accidentally killed a spectator. Now, I've seen this footage before where the car just takes off at the Nürburgring. But at the end of the day, it wasn't Yan's fault, and it was more of a freak accident that just ended up happening after air got underneath the car. And this is the part where you get a little bit of David Harbour's character, Jack, showing a lot of empathy to Yan, because throughout the entire movie, he's been just harping Yan and just telling him that you need to do better, just being a really strong leadership figure. But he's very empathetic to Yan because he also had a dark past where he was a race car driver, and at Le Mans he killed another racer during the race. He didn't want Yan to go down his path where he just retires, and was able to give one of his powerful speeches and talk him out of retiring, which eventually Yan does and is able to get back into the race car. But when he got back into the race car, it wasn't just for any race. He was going to race in the 24-hour Le Mans, and not even in a GT car, in a prototype car. Now, if you guys don't know, prototype cars are way faster and much more agile than GT cars. Think of prototype cars as like the closed cockpit F1 cars that are made for endurance racing. They have to get the gang together, and they're actually able to get some of the drivers from the GT Academy onto the team, and they have a 3-man roster for the 24-hour Le Mans, which is a little bit weird because I was thinking to myself, well, did the other two that finished 2nd and 3rd in the GT Academy get any practice at all, any track time? Because they're just gonna jump into this ridiculously fast car and just expect to do well. I don't know. I think I'm missing something. They probably could explain more in the movie of how they're even good enough to be able to drive in Le Mans, but it's just a small plot hole. Now, the dream team goes to Le Mans, and they have an interesting start as Yan is just having PTSD throughout the race, not able to really focus on the race, and actually doesn't do well due to the fact that he's just freaking out about the crash that happened where he killed a spectator. Now, this is where Jack comes in and just plays Yan's favorite song to get back into the zone, and he gets back into it and is able to race. Now, 23 hours pass, and eventually we have Yan back in 4th place, but he is trying to chase down Kappa, his arch nemesis, and it comes down to the final corner where he starts using unorthodox racing lines from learning from the Gran Turismo game, just showing him becoming a lot quicker than a lot of other people, which I don't know if that would actually work in real life. Eventually he catches up to Kappa for P3, and it comes down to the final corner where he's able to make the overtake, photo finish to the line, gets a podium on his very first running of the 24-hour Le Mans with Team Nissan. Not only does he get a third place position, but he gets it in front of everybody, including his parents who actually showed up to the race. Now, once that happens, they basically celebrate. He gets his kiss from his girlfriend, and the movie ends with a great feeling knowing that Yan made it in racing. They actually show a little bit behind the scenes of the movie, and they actually show that the real Yan was actually a stunt driver for the movie, which is pretty cool if you think about it. So that was basically the Gran Turismo movie, and in my opinion, I give this movie a 6 out of 10, which is decent, not ridiculously great, but it was a good movie. Like I said, I would probably watch it one more time or show one of my friends if they are really interested in racing as well. Now, the funny thing I was thinking about when making this review is that this wouldn't happen anymore because so many drivers are actually now starting to rely on sim racing to kind of help them out in progressing as a racer. And this dream, playing sim racing games and transitioning to an actual race car driver, is happening a lot more now than it did back then. So I think this movie came out just a tad bit too late just because it doesn't seem like an impossible feat, but either way, it still tells a really great story of one of the first people that was able to actually transition from sim racing into an actual real life race car driver. And I think that's really, really cool. So that was my review of the movie. What do you guys think about the movie? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, smash the subscribe button down below. Until next time, guys, have a great day. Peace.